Good afternoon. This is Mr. Wright, principal at Dauphin County Technical School. This is our September 13th, 2019 family update. First, a few notes about standardized testing, because we're all very much aware of the seemingly constant barrage of standardized testing that our kids are forced to take as they go through high school. And we certainly do administer our fair share of those standardized tests. So in addition to the Keystone exams that are required by the states, we're going to have a few other standardized tests that will occur throughout your student's career here. But I want you to know that we administer them as in an effort to do what's best for the kids and to make sure that we're not overwhelming them with testing all the time. We pay attention to the calendar and the schedule, and we try to do this in the most responsible way because we are aware of certain issues with test anxiety and oversaturation and the loss of instructional time. So when we do tests, please understand that we're doing it very thoughtfully and purposefully, and we consider the calendar and the kids and the need and the result and whether it's worth it or not before we do that. So that being said, I wanted to let you know about a few tests that are on the calendar for the rest of the school year. This isn't everything. I'm not talking about industry certification tests and things like that, but I am talking about the standard stuff that just about every kid who comes here will have to go through, besides the Keystone exams. First one up is the Asvab exam. That's the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. It is simply the best career data gathering assessment exists, and it's free. It's free for anyone to take. Juniors and seniors who are interested in taking this test will be able to do so on September 24th. They just sign up in the guidance office. And then in March, for our second year in a row, all sophomores will take the ASVAB. There's a reason we give it to sophomores and give it to all of them. One is because the data that we get back from it is outstandingly useful in making sure that kids are following the correct pathway to get to the career they want to get to. It also gives us that data in time for them to make any changes or alterations that they might be interested in making. The other reason that we choose the sophomore year is because this test is connected to the military. But when a student takes the test as a sophomore, the military recruiters are not allowed to contact them regarding the test, even once they are no longer sophomores. So if they take it as a sophomore, the military will not contact them about a military career unless the student or the student's family contacts the recruiters first. So it's one of those things where we can get the results of the test without having any obligation as a result. The military will not get any contact information. They only get the test number, and that's it. So it's a way to do that where families can feel safe and know that their students' private information is not going to be shared with any recruiters. The next test I want to talk about is Cdt Test. That stands for Computer Diagnostic Tests. And these are not high stakes tests, and they should not stress kids out. And what it really comes down to is these tests are a practice run for the Keystone exams. They all have to pass to graduate if they are graduating in the class of 2022 or later. Students who are beyond that already are not going to be taking these particular tests. They'll be given to kids taking biology, any 10th grade English class, or Algebra 1, and they will be serving as practice for the Keystones, but they also give us some data back so that we can determine what parts of the curriculum we need to hit again or put a little bit more emphasis on, and the stuff that the kids were already pretty good at, and we can kind of go over that a little bit more quickly. It allows us to make sure that we're not boring our kids with stuff they already know, and we're focusing our time on stuff that they need to do in order to be successful in the class, which is the most important thing, and the test, which we believe if we take care of what they need in the classroom, the tests do take care of themselves. But it also allows a kid to take a look at their own results, figure out what they need to do to get better, and the kinds of things that they're going to ask us to provide for them so that they can support their efforts, so that they can support their own efforts to get better. Sorry, forgive me for that. The last thing I want to talk about regarding testing is the NOCTI testing. Now, NOCTI, that's the granddaddy of them all around here in technical education. It is the national testing for our kids in all their shops, and that's what they all came here to work toward. Our students are going to take the NOCTI as a pre-NOCTI in their junior year and the regular NOCTI their senior year in the spring, so they've got some time yet. The only exception is our precision machining kids will not take the NOCTI. They'll take something called NIMS, but they know what that is and they're ready for that too. And it's just as high stakes and it's just as tough. Some would say the precision machining kids would say it's even tougher than NOCTI. So know that that stuff happens in the spring. In the spring also, we have the Keystone exams that I've been saying over and over again. The kids who are taking the pre-Nocti and the Nocti, though, have already gotten through the Keystone test stuff, so they're not taking them both in May. So if you have any questions about the standardized tests and what they entail and how we issue those and how we do those things, give me a call. I'd be more than happy to talk to you about it. Now, moving on to some less intense, heavy stuff. Picture Day. We had Picture Day a few weeks ago here. I think it was September 5th. We had Picture Day last week. And students will be getting their photo packages very soon, but they might not like what they see, not because of them, but because they just didn't like how the picture turned out. We are doing retakes on October 15th. That's a Tuesday. It's after the 3-day weekend. October 15th, we will do picture retakes. Students who missed Picture Day can come in and get their pictures taken, and they should. If they were here on September 5th to get their pictures taken, they just don't like them, they can bring their whole package back, sit down and have their picture taken again to get a new picture taken. But if they don't return their original package, they can't sit for retakes. So if you don't like the pictures you see, don't cut them up, don't throw them away. They need to be returned in order to have a retake done for that for any particular student. Okay. The morning drop-off procedures and the PM pickup procedures, it's always a cause of concern for me because this building simply wasn't built at a time when parents drove their kids to and from school. It just didn't happen. And as a result, our campus is not designed for all of the traffic we see. Now, of course, we're not going to tell parents they can't drive their kids to school, but the only reason that it is happening as successfully as it is happening is because of you. Our parents are driving carefully, they're being patient, they're watching out for buses and pedestrians, so please keep doing that. If you're late for work, please remember to drive slowly anyway. I understand that our situation here isn't perfect, and I am grateful and I'm thankful to you for making the best of it. I know sometimes the lines can get long, especially in the afternoon when you're picking up and there's no pathway for cars to get out of line and to drive through, and you just have to kind of wait. And I wish there was something I could do, but the costs of redesigning our parking lot are astronomical. We couldn't possibly afford to do that, to be perfectly honest with you. So we're just relying on your patience and your kindness and your continued desire to make sure that everyone is safe. So thank you for that, and please keep going with that. The last thing I want to get to before I talk about, actually, I'm sorry, I have two things I want to share with you before we get to the upcoming dates in the calendar that I want you to be aware of. The first one is vaping. It's all over the news. You've seen it, and I want you to realize something. Your kids listen to you, even when it feels like they're not listening to you. They're listening to you. They hear what you're saying. And we're seeing vaping all over the news, and we're seeing kids get sick. And I just ask that you talk to your kids about this. Talk to them about it because they are paying attention. They are listening. Smoking was rough enough when I was a kid. When you were kids, people were getting sick because of smoking. After a lifetime of exposure to cigarettes, people were getting sick. The thing about vaping is it hasn't been a lifetime. It's a relatively new phenomenon, and people are getting sick already, and that's scary. And we're dealing with it here with the appropriate disciplinary consequences, like every school is. But really, it's more important than that. It's more important than ISS or OSS or detentions or anything like that. We're talking about kids and their health, short term and long term. So we're going to be doing what we can to educate our kids about that. And we just want you to back us up on that and talk to your kids about that and let them know that when we tell them they can't vape here, when we tell them they can't do it and they can't bring it here, and we're going to have a conversation and consequences about it, we're not trying to ruin their fun. We just want them to be healthy. That's the only reason we enforce any of the rules that we have here at a school, is because we want kids to be able to learn distraction free and safe. And I know we're not perfect in that regard as an industry, but we're working really hard at it, and we need your help every step of the way. So thank you for supporting us on that. The last thing before we get to the calendar of events is a new thing that's coming. It's called secure document delivery. Secure document delivery is going to start with our first report card issued this year in November. And what that means is we're simply going to be sending report cards and student schedules at the beginning of school years. We're going to be sending those through an electronic system. So you can get that. It'll look like the old report card. It won't look like a PowerSchool printout or anything like that. It's going to look like a real report card that you can print if you want to, but we're going to email those out using secure document delivery, and you'll be able to have that to print out at your own leisure, but it'll happen a lot more timely. We won't have that week in between the end of a marking period and the mailing of report cards and then the day or two that it takes to get to you. We're going to be able to do all of that in a lot sooner of a time, shorter of a time frame. So look for that in November. I will send a couple of more of these updates as we get closer to it to remind you of it. And you'll get an email and you'll be able to click on it and get your student's report card. You won't get everybody's, you'll just get your student's report card and it'll be tailor-made just for you. So the only way this works is if we have your email address. So please, if you got the email announcing this video or the written version of this newsletter, you have an updated email address in our system. But if you change jobs or move or get a new carrier or something like that, and your email address changes, please don't forget us. We need that email contact so that you can get all of the information that we're sending out to you. All right, enough about that. Some upcoming dates, and we'll wrap up this video. On September 26th, we have back to school night that starts at 6 o'clock and it runs until about 8:30. We start off in the auditorium, and then you will run through your child's schedule. It's very important that you know your student's first period class on back to school night. Once you get there, you'll get a schedule that your student has created for you to follow for the rest of the night. But you need to know first period schedule, or I'm sorry, your first period class before you get there, obviously. We will have them printed on lists and posted. But if you're one of the people who doesn't know their student's first period class, you're going to have to wait to get a look at that bulletin board with all of the names and classroom listed on it. If you know it when you walk in the door, you won't have to wait in that line. So try to get that information from your kids. I'm going to be telling them to tell you about it. Make sure you have that conversation. October 14th is Columbus Day, and that's a Monday, and we are closed. School's closed, so don't send your kids to school. October 23rd is the Middle School Expo. That is a huge night here. It's for all middle schoolers and their families in Dauphin County. It is not an open house for everyone, only for middle schoolers and their families. So if you know a middle school student who's thinking about coming to Dauphin County Tech, let them know about that. Encourage them to come. It is an altered date. It was originally on October 24th. So if you're thinking, wait a minute, he's wrong. It's not on the 23rd, it's on the 24th. The Middle School Expo was moved from October 24th to take place now on October 23rd because it conflicted with Trick or Treat Night in a number of the townships that have students that come to us. Now, I would have thought that Halloween would have been a great night for Trick or Treat Night, but nobody asked me. So we are moving the Expo so that families don't have to choose between Expo and Trick or Treat. October 23rd, Middle School Expo. And the last one is October 25th. We are having an in-service day here at school. So many of us will be working that day in the school, but the students are not in session that day. October 25th, no kids come to school. Thank you very much for watching these videos, reading our newsletters. If you have any questions or concerns, please give us a call. We'll do our best to find an answer for you. Thanks, and have a great weekend.